We are live. We are live. Let me get on my Facebook.
I'm
It
trying to too.
should be popping up. Should be popping up. Yeah, there we
There
are.
we go.
Should be popping up. Be popping up.
I
Always get that echo. Always, always get it. I try to turn my phone down before it happens because I like to watch it. See the comments for some reason. Probably because I
hope
don't know
I
what
get
I'm
to see them
doing.
today. Sometimes they freeze up
Oh,
for
okay.
me on my end, and I don't get to see all the ones that you are reading.
Well, I'm clicking on this comment button over here on the StreamYard, and hopefully, um, click.
What does that do? I never did that before.
Well, it's on the StreamYard part, and it says
Oh,
comments on the far right hand corner.
uh-huh.
I've clicked on it before, and the comments did not pop up, so I don't know if it'll work or not. We got
Okay.
two people watching. Two people watching. Okay. Well, hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
We are back to
Yes.
discuss a very
The
important
month
topic.
of November.
Yes. And so we are going to be talking about breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. We are well aware that it is not October, but breast cancer does not just occur in October.
Right. That's when they
So,
raise money for it.
right. So we can talk about breast cancer at any point in time because it's important all year round, for us to be informed about it and all of that great stuff. So we're going to
Mhm.
be talking about breast cancer and the effects it has on the mental health.
Yes.
Yes. So I am Michelle, a mental health therapist, and this is my great girlfriend, co-host, Stephanie.
Yes. Stephanie McCain. I, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be I don't know, it's probably gonna be a little bit different from what we talk about with other things. We have hopefully I'm from a family with breast cancer in the family. So I have some experience secondhand, if you will, because firsthand would be having breast cancer. I also have firsthand experience with the scare of it because I've had that too.
Yeah.
Both my mom and my sister are survivors of breast cancer, and I was all outside myself that I decided not to do a breast cancer awareness walk this year because I did not want to formulate a group and be responsible for people coming together in a crowd like that. But someday I'll be able to do it again.
Hmm.
I'm
I
trusting
am.
God.
I am sorry. I am looking for my plug because my laptop is not plugged up. So I am just hoping that I did not leave it at my office. I apologize. My little warning came on.
Oh, wave your mouse around it and see how long you have. It'll tell you.
Okay.
Even though anxiety says you need to plug it up right now, the little thing
Hmm.
might say you got 2 hours before it goes out.
Okay. I'm not even finding the little thing. It's usually right here. Um, okay. Well, by faith, I don't see it, and I'm just yeah. I'm gonna be here as long as life says yes. That is so odd to me because I typically don't do that. Um, Never mind. I have it right here
Good.
and it's plugged in. Thank you, technology, for warning me.
Good. We'll give you a moment to go ahead now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, whoa. I must have got stopped in my tracks. Got a little sidetrack there.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to be talking about that. If you are on, please go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section so we know. Tell us hello so we know that you're here and that you're watching. I can see so far there's a few people watching, but I don't know who they are, so I don't know who to greet. So please go ahead and drop it in the chat. Please like and share this video. If you know me, I post it everywhere so that people can get this information. So, want to speak to the masses. So please like, share, and then on YouTube, click on the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we go live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I wanted to open with just a blurb out of the American Psychological Association, when it talks about what impact does a breast cancer diagnosis have on the psychological well-being of a person. It says receiving the because men do get breast cancer too.
Yes. I love how you
Um,
said of the person. I knew where you
uh-huh.
were going with that.
Yeah, yeah. So, receiving a diagnosis of breast cancer can be one of the most distressing events women or men ever experience. A woman or man may not know where to turn for help. Distress Distress typically continues even after the initial shock of the diagnosis has passed.
Hmm.
And that's that silent like depression or anxiety. It's almost kind of like a like what happens in grief when people are planning funerals and repasts come and family is gone. You almost feel like, am I normal? But you're not, because
Right.
there's distress that's constantly still happening. The brain is processing this information, and a lot of times there's just like the grief process shock,
Right.
is one of the managers of that distress. So it says that well after the initial shock, the distress continues as women and men begin what is often a lengthy treatment process. They may find themselves faced with new problems. They may
Yes.
find their personal relationships in turmoil. They may feel tired all the time. They may be very worried about their symptoms, treatments, and more, and their mortality, of course.
Hmm.
They may face discrimination from employers and insurance companies. Boy, have I heard that a lot. The
Yes.
worst time ever, insurance companies are giving people fits. Um,
Yes.
and these factors can contribute to chronic stress, anxiety, and depression.
Yes.
And
And
that
PTSD.
and PTSD. It is a serious shock to the system. If you have our society had, even though we have, there's so many cures and so much help
Yeah.
out there, and so many people that are surviving this
Hmm.
disease. Um, but for whatever reason, we have made it such a horrific thing, and
Yes.
people lose their lives too, and go into depression too, and anxiety too, giving birth. But
Yes.
um something about that C word just arrests people's hearts. And I
It
hear
does.
descriptions of everything went silent. I
Hmm.
couldn't hear anything. Maybe the birds outside in the middle of a room, like everything either gets bigger and more luminous, or the world feels like it's closing in on you. Have been
Yeah.
some of the descriptions that I've experienced when talking with people diagnosed
Yeah.
with breast cancer.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And and you're right. And even when you're like the secondhand person, like you're the loved one of someone that has it, get that diagnosis. Well, first
Mhm.
of all, it puts you in panic mode.
Mhm.
Like you need to do something right now. What
Mhm.
can you do right now?
Mhm.
Um, anything. Like life adjusts. It
Yeah.
does, right?
And then who do I trust?
Mhm.
Now I got to put
Yeah.
my hands, I imagine the thought to be, uh, yeah, I put my trust in God. Yes.
Right.
But who am I going to trust? I got to trust this doctor.
Right.
I got to believe everything this doctor says. Like, what do I believe? Who do I believe? How do it, I imagine the reconciliation of depending on something or someone else is huge.
Mhm. Yes. But I think too that there is such a trust factor for a
Mhm.
lot of people in the medical field.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the key is that professional person catering to making you feel really comfortable with
Mhm. Mhm.
then then you will trust, like answering your questions, not being
Providing
short
hope.
with you. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that was the experience that we had. The doctors were very my mom had breast cancer, so did my sister. And just it was like divine intervention from the beginning. So from
Mhm.
one clinic to the next, it was like, oh, here, you need to go over here, make sure you ask for her. She's the best of the best. And then you go and you talk to her, and she's so homey and nurturing and right. And so you don't forget about the diagnoses, right? My mom
Yeah.
has a very rare, aggressively and rare um, type. So you
Mhm.
don't forget about it, but you do kind of feel at ease. But you are kind of like in panic mode, like
Mhm.
um. And what does panic and anxiety come from? Fear and feeling
Fear,
out of
fear and
control.
fear. Yeah.
And feeling out of control, like you have, like you can't do anything.
Mhm.
And that's for any, I'm sure, any illness, any chronic illness, you know, life threatening illness or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you can't remember, right? When we get that news, our brain goes on a rest sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
And then so I know I wanted to make sure that I was there because I loved my mom and my sister, but I also wanted to make sure that I was able to be have my gatherings, if you will, about myself so that I can ask the right questions,
Mhm.
so I can hear for real. Because sometimes you sit, I mean, I've been in situations where you're in the doctor's office and it's like wah 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 wah.
Mhm.
You hear nothing,
Mhm.
right? So I want to make sure because it's like, wait a minute, you get home, it's like, well, did they say this or did they say that?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, so a lot of things, and all of that is mental. All of that is the mental.
Mhm.
All of that is the mental.
Well, it's
How the
shutting down. It's the same way when I'm associating that with the shock of grief, the shock of a death of someone too.
mhm,
It's like the mind automatically goes to well, the brain is always trying to go back into homeostasis. That's why it's important for us to fix our childhood stuff. The brain wants to get back to normal,
yeah,
and
yeah,
yourself knows this. We're
this
not
is
getting
not
back to
normal.
normal.
Right.
Right. We're
So
not
that
getting back to normal.
conflict.
Right. I can eat all the bonbons I want. This is still a thing, and I gotta address it.
Mhm.
You know, I hope that people nowadays. I didn't even think about that, Michelle, when you were going through your stuff to say, record it on the phone.
And I did
You
do
did?
that.
Okay, good,
Yes,
good. Yeah.
I did yeah.
And I thought about it like, wow, we can record stuff on the phone now so we could go
Yeah,
back and remember. But I don't ever remember even thinking that when you were going through the stuff with your
yeah,
mom and your sister. I just remembered, yeah, just hoping, praying that you would be able to be that support,
yeah,
that you could stay present as they go
yeah,
through their stuff, because it's really scary.
yeah. And we had and so when I was in school, I had classmates and their interest was working with geriatric clients.
Okay.
Why? Because they suffer from these illnesses, heart failure, diabetes, all these different things. And they go through what we talked about: depression,
Mhm,
anxiety,
mhm,
PTSD,
mhm,
mortality. What they're worried about their mortality.
mhm,
And I had not thought about it. A lot of times we don't think about stuff like that. And I was,
mm-mm,
my classmates, that was their forte. They was like, I want to be in the field of geriatric mental health.
mm,
Hope that, and it's like, wow, yeah,
mhm, mhm.
because it's not life as usual when people are diagnosed with certain things, and
And aging.
and aging
Mhm.
and aging or aging without
Right.
having
Right, I'm like, that's
having
double powerlessness in our imagination.
in
Yeah.
our exactly.
Mhm,
Yeah, in our
mhm,
imaginations, right? And so yeah, so people are um I would say to well, now doctors and things are doing this. They're offering counseling services.
Yes.
Like they're asking
Mhm.
questions about mental health already. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you're coming in for.
Yes.
It's like, have you
Mental
have
health
you
and
experienced
safety. Mhm.
yes. Have you experienced any suicidal ideation? Have you been really sad? And they know exactly how to say it. And I remember first time going to the doctor and being asked those questions. And I thought, why are they asking me this?
Mhm.
Like,
Along with
like,
asking your name and date of birth 4 times. I
yes.
haven't moved. I'm still sitting in the same spot, but okay.
And this is before I realized that the medical field has now begun to ask those questions
Mhm.
as a form of precaution to make sure that people are okay that they see because
Yes.
you know
Yes.
so yeah, they ask those questions. Yes, I'm glad you said that men do get breast cancer as well because they
Mhm.
do. And
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly who it was, but I learned this weekend of someone, one of my husband's friends, who before died, and that's what they died of, breast cancer. So men get breast
Mhm.
cancer, and they sometimes do not survive,
Mhm.
just like women.
Mhm.
Um, but to add to that anxiety and depression is the loss of relationships. Like I know it said, the loss of or being discriminated against from the employer and the insurance companies, but from spouses,
Mhm. Because you
losing.
got to make some really tough decisions. Some people have to make some tough decisions. My grandfather had a diagnosis of breast cancer, but it wasn't. It was benign. But yeah, that was scary. But it went so quick because it was not right. It was a wrong diagnosis, and that's when I knew. That's how I learned that men
Yeah.
can have breast cancer.
I
Yeah.
taught a breast cancer awareness when I worked at the school, and we talked about that,
Mhm.
and informing and letting the young men know too that this is something
Mhm.
that could happen to them as well. So
Mhm.
this was not exclusive to young ladies. So,
Mhm.
we taught that year after year. I taught that to the entire high school every
Mhm.
single year in October. We had that, and I think it was like one grade a week, right?
Okay.
And then throughout the month, doing other things to raise awareness for it. So yeah, we did that, teaching at that young age because it can happen at a young age, right? The
Mhm.
myth of it no, like you have to be a certain age is not true. I remember um, when my mom was going through, there was a young lady, I think in her 20s, getting a double
Mm.
mastectomy
Yeah.
because she had it and she just didn't want any problems with the other. So, and
Wow.
she was in her 20s, like maybe mid 20s, maybe.
And can you imagine the psychological impact on a relationship if you have body morphisms or body image
Mhm.
challenges going in, and in our society, you know, and
Yeah.
things have changed so much with having to have mastectomy. They just do so many things cosmetically
Yes.
now that it's like, thank you, universe, for provision. But just the notion that that is a part of your selfhood and now it's
It's gone. It's gonna be
gone, and
removed.
then
Mhm.
you don't even know if the other one had to go, but because of fear, you just take that necessary precaution.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
a big decision, man.
it is. I know of a young lady who did that too, just very recently, and allowed us to follow her journey. It was really wonderful. She's on TikTok and everything, and she's part of a group that I'm a part of. And her bravery, her courage was outstanding, and she just, so because we have a lot of different things that um provisions, like you said, in this field, people can get, breast augmentations, different things like that.
Mhm.
I think that, but I also still think that even with that, people still are dealing with depression, anxiety
Yeah,
about it because it's
but it's
still
not easy. It's not like putting on another pair of pants. It's,
right.
it's still
Yeah.
a decision to make, and it's still like this article said, the distress typically continues.
Yes.
Even after people are healed, and they're in remission, from
Yeah.
the cancer, that fear. And I think you came across some information
Yeah.
regarding that too. I think your mom said something too,
Yeah.
on
So that,
Facebook.
oh, no, why am I not seeing it?
Uh-oh.
Go, that's fine. If you're seeing it, go ahead and read them because I
She
don't see
says,
it.
yes, at first you do panic because at first I was given the wrong, given a diagnosis of
I
stage
remember.
4.
I
And
remember.
later the doctor called and said, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. That was very scary. I remember that too.
I
So I
remember.
sought the Lord for guidance and I calmed down.
Yeah. That was very scary. And
Yeah.
then when the other doctor says, they can't even give you that like that. That's not how that worked. Then it was like, oh, right. It's like they haven't tested
So
anything.
she
They
haven't even had her biopsy or anything. That was just like she had
nothing.
first come back from the hospital,
I was
doctor's
like,
office.
the doctor was like, how, they can't tell that from that.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, that makes sense. But I mean, when you're talking about life,
Mhm.
you're like, what? Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's real.
From.
Um, when you first get that, I did not have breast cancer, but I did find a lump,
Mhm.
and so that was really scary.
Mhm.
And what's also scary, and I want people to understand too, and I say this often to clients that I talk to when we're talking about anxiety and depression or whatever else they may be going through in their physical bodies, that you are your, I heard this somewhere, you are your best doctor,
Mhm.
right? You know how you feel, you know if you're feeling abnormal, you know if something doesn't seem right to you. And so you have to advocate and don't give up and don't just go with what, and doctors are professionals. So I'm not
Mhm.
taking that away from them, but it's still your body.
Mhm.
So do the research. And I said that to say, so when that happened to me, it was like, oh, it's benign, you're fine. And I'm like, but it's there.
Mhm.
Can this turn into, well, there's a chance, but we don't think it will. Well, okay, now we're going to stop at what you think because that's not what I'm interested in, right? Because you can't tell me, you cannot guarantee me that this
Mhm.
won't be anything. And then I talked to one of the wise women that I have a relationship with, and she said, listen, first of all, you want peace of mind. And second of all, you don't want something that wasn't there when you were born, that you cannot be guaranteed that it is not going to go, not turn into something else.
Mhm.
So then I decided to have it removed.
Mhm.
But it was really scary because you don't even know. You don't really know. You can't really guarantee me anything.
Right.
All you can say is, well, we don't think so. Well, and I often ask stuff like this. Well, if that were your breast doctor, what would you do?
I hope you got a woman doctor when you ask that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a great
it was
question.
a woman doctor, but
Mhm.
right? Anytime that I'm advised to do anything that I'm a little shaky about, I ask that question. When there was a certain shot that they wanted my 10-year-old daughter to get, I said, well, if it was
Mhm.
your daughter, what would you do? And when she hesitated to answer me, my daughter didn't get that shot
Mhm.
because you're in this field, right? And if you believe wholeheartedly, okay, I might can. But if you are skeptical, why am I?
Mhm.
Right. And so I asked her, and she's like, it really, I can't tell you what to do. It really is your choice. But if you are uncomfortable with it being there, we can remove it. That was her answer. Okay. So yeah, it is really scary though, even when it's like, oh, it's nothing. It's like, yikes. And if you already have anxiety, which I was not aware of at the time, you already have anxiety. That does not make it any better.
Right, because that can exacerbate disease.
Yes. So I don't know, and I like to ask, and she can put it in the chat if you see it, read it. Like I saw my mother be like very happy, joyful, did miss a beat. Now I don't know if that was affront, avoid. I don't know. I just know what I saw. Or if it was just that's her attitude was, I'm not worried about this. I'm gonna do what they tell me to do. And because I remember I remember being in a doctor's office like, let them take them both. Okay, so that was anxiety too. She was like, I am not gonna let them take any if they don't have to. I say, we just want to be sure.
Oh, wow.
And that can't even, you can't, that's not, I mean, like, yes, it's helpful if they
But it's
feel like
not a
they need to,
guarantee.
but that's not the 120% guarantee either. But I remember that anxiety that just came to mind when I was thinking about anxiety. And she was like, nah, I think we're going to be good. And I was like, what do you mean? What? Let's just get rid of it. So,
It's so easy to say, huh? It's so
girl, it's so very
not your
ignorant.
body.
It's so very ignorant when I'm not the one going through it right at this moment. Like, that's what you need to say to me right now. I apologize, Mom, for that. No, let's just, because in your brain, I know this is in my kid's brain, right? I know it's in your kid's brain. Like, you undid all you gonna do. They think that. They they do. It's like, I am not dead. What do you mean? I am human. I'm a woman. And so I know. So I think I think that we could be guilty of that too. When our parents are
It's great.
twice our age, I think that we can be guilty of that too. Like, and we tease her sometimes about stuff like not the breast cancer, but other stuff like that. Um, Anywho, that was a sidebar. But so yeah, so the question is I know for sure. I think that her positive attitude is what really
Mm-hmm.
helped the body to halt this dis-ease in her body.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. They said it was a rare aggressive form. Like, that just sends red flags and stuff all through my body,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because you think about so many people that doesn't make it through a rare aggressive form of anything.
Right, right, right. And I
So
think that how the mental health community can assist is helping people like to come to terms with the physical and the emotional and all the lifestyle changes that have to take
yeah,
place. Um, and because everybody doesn't have it smoothly, like
right.
everybody doesn't navigate through that process smoothly. Everybody doesn't have a home. Listen, oh, Tatiana said, hey, Tatiana.
Hey, Tita.
Um, uh, most people don't navigate through it smoothly. Everybody doesn't have the benefit of having a comfortable home or being able to stay home and nurture and focus in on their
Yeah.
healing. Some people are still having to deal with the day-to-day life.
Yes.
And so that is added stress in a place in the body where you need to be relaxed and you need to be calm and you need to be speaking life over yourself, and life is
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
And so the mental health community helps because at least it gives you 1 hour a week. And then if you go to support group, you can get 2 hours a week or
Right.
3.5 hours to be able just to turn in to yourself
Yes. Yeah.
and center yourself and learn mindfulness techniques and a way to control your thoughts and your fears.
Right.
And I would imagine, and I'm sure there are some people who are not spiritual, and that's a whole nother journey. But I would imagine helping people to reconcile their spirituality
Yeah.
and what's happening for them
Mhm.
is very important too.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
because there's maybe a lot of shame that could,
Mhm.
I imagine some shame that could come from having this experience and being angry with God or
Mhm.
yes, or anyone.
Yeah. This article says how women can how can psychological treatment help as well. with the adjustment of this is there are licensed psychologists and other mental health professionals with experience in breast cancer treatment.
Mhm. Mhm.
This world is amazing. Like there is something for everything,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And they can help a great deal. So their primary goal is to help women learn how to cope with the physical, emotional, and the lifestyle changes
Mhm.
associated with cancer, and men too.
Mhm.
As
Mhm.
well as with medical treatments that can be painful and traumatic.
Yes. Yes. Miss Almeida said, stress aggravates the disease. Once I found out, I said, well, Lord, when I'm giving, she's like, well, Lord, let me see. 'Cause she corrected it. She said, well, Lord, I'm giving it over to you. And then she said, what I meant to say is that I gave it over to the Lord because I could not afford to be stressed because I plan to be here for a while. And you are.
As you are. Yes,
And
as
you
you are.
are. And we are grateful that you gave it over.
Yes. And so, yes, and you could see the joy. You could see like, and I'm like, you going to work? Like she would leave chemo, go to work. I'm like, you going to work? Aren't you tired? She's like, look, I got work to do. I don't have to. And then so, just a really great example of
Mm-hmm.
how a positive mindset can be
Mm-hmm.
very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do anything but what they tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know that's easier said than done. And like you said, a lot of people don't have the support system, maybe don't have the spiritual support,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and, homes and things like that that you mentioned. So that may seem a little bit harder. But the people that I've seen who have survived, and it's not a whole lot, just really have positive attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there was some initial shock and some initial terror, if you will.
Yeah. Positive
And
attitude doesn't preclude you from being human.
right.
Some people think that though.
I know. I
I can
know.
have a good attitude, but the human side of me will pop his little head up.
Well,
Um,
I know, because just like people think that all you have to do is pray and you won't be depressed anymore.
right.
You're
Hmm.
still human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
still are human. And I'm sure there are moments, even when people are positive, there are moments that because the brain will go there. It's trained to go
It's
there.
trained to go there. That's the
I
ego
said that to
mind.
somebody today.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why do I keep it's trained to go there? That's why you're doing this work right here. So you
Mm-hmm.
can retrain the brain,
You
but it's
gotta
trained to
retrain
go
it.
right there. Yeah.
If you find yourself having repetitive negative thoughts, it's not because life is beating you up. It's because your mind has been trained to protect you. That's the ego
No.
protecting you. And if you don't feel all tensed up about life, somewhere on your journey, you imagine that it won't get fixed unless I am in a certain state.
Crises.
Yeah, and it could be the state of crisis.
Yeah.
And you have to retrain your body and your brain. I'm going to be in a different state.
Yeah.
So if I really want to believe, lean not to my own understanding, in all my ways acknowledge you, and you will direct my path. If I really want to know if that's a real show enough thing for me, here's the
Mhm.
moment.
And you know
And
what I
what does
what
that
I
look like on me?
and you know what I often say, well, I mean, I gotta trust something. I would have stone lost my mind.
Mhm,
Like it's like it's this or what?
mhm, mhm,
That's my, like, when you need to have hope, you want to have hope, you want to think
mhm,
positive. It's kind of like, is this a like what? I can't afford not to think on those things.
mhm,
My brain cannot afford to do that.
mhm, mhm,
Right? It is the most important organ in my body.
mhm,
Without it, nothing else works. If I lose it, if I have a breakdown,
mhm,
then what? So I have to.
mhm,
It's a must, you know?
mhm, mhm,
Yeah. Um, but then there's also, I want to talk a little bit about too, like, so you've overcome, you're a survivor. Um, And let me just say this too while I'm on this. We know that not everybody survives.
Yes.
So my prayers and
Yes.
thoughts are to those who have had loved ones to pass
Yes.
on.
Yes.
Um, because we know how devastating it must be
Yes.
for them to lose that battle. And so I wanted to say that, right? Um, and then those who are survivors, there's that thought of like, you survive, and for some people at some hospitals they ring the bell or whatever it is, and you survive. But then there's that checkup, first couple checkups afterwards.
Mm.
And an article I read was talking about how you're on alert, because what
Mhm.
if they tell me again,
Mhm.
you know? I think it's like anything else. Once you get used to being told you're good, come back next year. You're good. Yes, come back next year. Oh, you're great. Come back next year. Then the brain starts to adapt to, okay, I'm good. But in the beginning, I can only imagine the thought of, oh God, please don't let me have what we would call a bad report.
Mhm.
Please let me have a positive outcome.
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
imagine that that is impactful for people having to go to the doctor and
Yeah.
don't
And
know
then
what
for
they're going to say.
the person who obsess over that until the next time they go to the doctor.
Yes.
Those are what we those panic attacks, or those moments of consistent panic or obsession
Mhm.
that that this will come back. It's
Mhm.
like I am forever bound to this unknowing experience that could take over me.
Mhm.
And that's a form of PTSD.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's the sign. So like if something happens when you are in remission that resembles when you weren't in remission, there we go. And we're like
Yeah.
bringing up all of that energy, that fear energy,
Yeah.
that fear in itself metastasizes and becomes a disease, whether it's pain in your hip, your back, or whatever.
Right.
And that's one of the things I think, that when people are not able to manage their mental health consistency, um, consistently during a diagnosis that's possibly that will lead to death, they should seek.
It's
If you
assistance.
find yourself constantly obsessing over the fact that this is going to be bad, this is going to be bad, this is going to
Mhm.
be bad, talk to
Or the
someone.
what if, right?
Yeah, the what
What
if.
if when I go back?
Yeah.
What if it's not what I think is, what if
Mhm.
I get this report or that report?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
And
Um,
deciding who are you going to be.
mhm.
You are, and I think therapy and support group. You're not going to go to a therapist. Definitely go to a support group if you are constantly obsessing over this reoccurrence.
Right.
In fact, it's so important. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. And this just talks about a combination of individual and group treatments sometimes work best.
Mm,
Group
okay.
treatment with others who have breast cancer women a chance to give women a chance to give and receive emotional support from each other,
Mm-hmm.
who totally understands because they are right where you were.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. But for those who, so there are ways to ease those fears of reoccurrence, is what it's
Mm-hmm.
called. Fear of reoccurrence. Fear of the cancer coming back is common and expected. So every ache and pain may cause you to think it's is my cancer back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, what for me, the doctors found it, right? And my breasts are what they call dense anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna feel some tissues here and there, and it's like, well, is this one? Is this one? Is that one? Is this one
Mm-hmm.
okay? And so some of the ways to ease those fears are accept the emotions, they're real,
Mm-hmm.
be okay with it, talk about your fears with your healthcare provider, a licensed mental health professional, trusted friend, or other survivors.
Mm-hmm.
because those fears are real. You don't have to pretend that they're not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Practicing mindfulness or meditation.
Definitely.
So
Mm-hmm.
awareness in the moment often helps reduce anxiety, stress, and fear of reoccurrence. We know that to be true for anxiety of for any reason, and
Mm-hmm.
just being aware in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Take control of your health, kind of something what I was talking about before. Like you know your body, so ask your doctors ask your doctor questions. Ask your doctor for a written follow up care plan. Because I think, well, I know that anxiety is about fear and feeling out of control. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have a written follow up care plan, it gives you structure and makes you feel in control.
Yes, it does. It
Mhm.
does.
Yep, including what exams you need in the future and how often you should have them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's going to give you structure and that's going to help you feel in control of something. You can control something, follow the schedule, right? Recognize important indicators. So ask your doctor for a list of symptoms you should report to him or her in
Mm-hmm.
between checkups, such as new lumps or bleeding or pain, or so you know what to look for and
Yeah.
what that lump should feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I just threw that in there because, again, I'm very dense, and so there's little things there all the time, and I would be out of my mind every single time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get familiar, and I used to say this: the girls would just
Please.
the girls in high school, they would just crack up, especially the freshmen. Seniors, not so much. But start touching them like they yours.
They are.
Touching them, getting familiar with them, because the only way you're gonna know that something is not right is if you're familiar with what they normally feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Doing the breast exam, whatever you want to call it, touching them, doing a breast exam, however, just make sure you're familiar
Familiar
with
with
your
your
own
own
body.
body, period.
I
Yeah.
think that we've learned very early on that that's the no-no.
Yeah.
Not only doesn't anybody else touch it, you don't touch it either.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need to touch some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's yours, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
And
Um,
even sexual dysfunction is one of the things that happens after a diagnosis of breast cancer. People, some probably from the medicine and being
mm,
sick.
yeah, because there's some side effects from the medications that you have
Mm-hmm.
to take.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then where was I at? Yeah, the from the medications. I know we talked about and we glossed over, but people losing relationships,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that can contribute to feeling
Out of
un
control.
yeah, not feeling. And I mean, we are a nation that we pay attention to sexiness and all that kind of stuff, and you can feel a certain way with, especially if you've had, we haven't talked about this part, but especially if you've had to have a mastectomy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the other thing is to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, and that should start with the chemo if you're not already doing it.
Right.
Getting enough exercise, sleep, and eating a healthy diet.
Yes.
I just wish that A, we could understand when we're told at a young age, and B, that we're told at a young age why, that we should eat our vegetables and we should drink water and we're not often told until, and so then you like today years old when you find out why you should have did all of that stuff in the beginning, because it just
Mm-hmm.
creates healthiness and healthy habits, healthy diets, healthy lifestyle. So maintain a healthy lifestyle and then join a support group for breast cancer
Definitely.
survivors. Getting to
Mm-hmm.
know other survivors will help you feel less alone as you learn how they are coping with the same worries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know like you have your girlfriends and you might have your children and things like that, but if we haven't been through it, we wouldn't know.
Right. Right. And I don't know, you want a place where you can tell your truth too, where you can be
Yes.
safe to tell your truth. Because sometimes I imagine that people don't want their loved ones to worry.
Hmm.
Um, and so there's that moment where we minimize, just like we minimize mental health challenges.
Yeah.
And so I'm anxious and I'm nervous and I'm obsessing and I'm panicky and I'm not feeling sexy. So I'm not attuned to my partner. I don't have those needs and I'm not attuned to theirs. And so many things happen in your mind space when
Yeah.
you get a diagnosis of cancer.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and then, if you like me, I look up and Google everything. I look if they can tell
Well,
me
that'll make you sick.
well, when I say that, I'm looking up what they told me.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, right,
Mhm.
I'm looking it up, getting more information on what they've told me. And of course, I've not had a breast cancer diagnoses, but anything that the doctor has said to me, then I'm reading on it. I don't just take the
Mhm.
paper and put it on the shelf. I'm
Mhm.
reading on it, what is it, what's my part, so I can make sure that I'm doing my part to the fullest
Mhm.
to participate. Because just like anything else, and especially mental health, we have a job to do. We have a responsibility to
Mhm.
ourselves to make sure we're doing
Yes.
our part.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the body is the body, spirit, mind. It's all asking you to join in the healing process.
Yeah.
All of you to join in. You can't just kind of like I mean you can um
Hmm.
go to chemo, take the medicine and then hope for the best.
Yeah.
But would be my desire for the entire world if anybody ever had to have a diagnosis of breast cancer that you use that as an opportunity to do, have the mind body spirit connection, giving it like all full barrels to like they take it to the head, like everything,
Yes.
just why not?
Hmm.
um to just to assure of some form of recovery, you
Yeah.
know um
Yeah.
that's just and so
Yeah.
that's why I advocate for seeing someone or getting into a support group, because just going to the doctor and taking the pills and that's it, your mind can take you places you don't even want to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I haven't known people to get breast cancer in groups. Most times somebody, one person that's in the unit that is challenged with this.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to just process out loud with someone,
Right.
or someone's who have done the journey.
Hmm. And then I want to say too that we have those who are caretakers
Mm-hmm.
for um so people that are have that diagnosis, and sometimes the caretaker has to care for someone who is not going to make it, right?
Yeah.
And so your first initial as a caretaker, your first initial thing is to jump in and make sure like you're supporting them, and it's great. It's a great impulse, right? And they deserve it and they appreciate you,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Mm-hmm.
have to look out for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime
Mm-hmm.
we're in a caretaker role, for whatever reasons we're in that role, we have a tendency not to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
So we want to
Yes.
make sure that if you are a caretaker for someone with a diagnosis, particularly today we're talking about breast cancer,
Breast cancer.
make
Mm-hmm.
sure you also are taking care, like the things that were said and told to the
Oh
survivor,
my goodness, yes.
or the person who is currently going through breast cancer, that applies to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
You too can suffer from anxiety and depression,
Oh my goodness,
worried
yes.
about the mortality of your loved one,
Yes.
um, and PTSD. Vicarious
Absolutely.
PTSD is real, and all that means is that somebody else suffers a trauma, and you are close to them, so you too
Have
um,
your own trauma about it.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
We all, I think, a lot of us, if not all, the majority of us, went through vicarious trauma about
Mm-hmm.
9/11,
Mm-hmm.
even if
Oh
you didn't know
yeah.
the people there. So that's what we mean about vicarious trauma. So breast cancer diagnosis doesn't just affect the person; it also have a serious effect on the mental health of family and friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I imagine, especially those who, like, if you are blessed enough to be the caretaker, to go to the doctor's appointments and things like that, you have information firsthand. But
Yeah.
there's so many more people who don't.
Yes.
And so their minds, they're taking them wherever. So if you're
Right.
a caretaker, take care of yourself as well. This says that one study revealed that men whose partners had breast cancer were at an increased risk of hospitalization for an affective disorder like depression subsequent to the diagnosis.
Hmm. It makes so much sense.
Yeah,
Um, it makes so much sense to process something like that because we have to get to our like, what do I believe about this
right.
diagnosis?
Yeah,
And then
because we
having
don't,
someone
we don't,
challenge that. Yeah.
yeah, because we don't have an explanation at first.
Right.
You just have the diagnosis and the belief that of what you've heard
Hmm.
or witnessed.
Hmm.
That's all you have to go on
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah. And then
Right.
like Miss Almeida, I mean, you walk out of there stage 4.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
You know, but everybody is not as blessed to be able to get a different diagnosis, or the right one. And so
Hmm.
they have the impact of that reality.
Yeah.
um what do you got to process that. What does that
Yeah.
mean for you?
Yes.
And having a safe space to tell your truth about it, because if you got kids, you can't tell your kids what you think the truth of is it about it, because we are there trying to protect their hearts.
Right.
And
So
so
yeah, so
having a safe space.
if you are a caretaker, so it's easy to feel that you don't deserve support since
Mm-hmm.
you're not the one with the diagnosis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to pour right into the person that has it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's simply untrue. You should have, if you are a caretaker of someone with an illness, you should have some type of some type of support system as well. So taking care of yourself make you better able to take care of the loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot pour from an empty glass. And if you are empty
Mm-hmm.
mentally and emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
you're only setting yourself up for some type of dis-ease in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So that support is crucial for the person who is walking this journey as well, with the loved one with breast cancer.
Yes,
Yeah, that's really
absolutely.
important. That is really important. So I just wanted to say that because I know that you think that you're not, I'm good. Then somehow you get this invisible cape. It's like, and you can do anything and nothing. And it's like, and you pour into. And I think that as a culture, we're like that anyway. Like if
I do
somebody's
too.
sick, we jump right in. We're gonna do what we got to do. It's almost like that adrenaline from
It is.
something right, and then you don't think about um
How this is impacting me,
how this
or
is
could
impacting
impact
me.
me.
Right, how this could
Mm-hmm.
impact me. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so we gotta definitely we gotta think about that. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I don't know if Tatiana is still on, but she too had been a caretaker slash family member of a mom,
Mm-hmm.
with breast cancer, my sister. And so we have to make, that, yeah. I know she wanted to chime in and had something to say about that. Is she still on?
Oh, she hasn't said anything just yet.
Okay.
uh hey, Christine.
Hi, Chris.
I don't know when she got on. Sorry, I'm just looking over at it.
Hey, Chris. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know if she's still on. I hate that we can't really see like names all the time, or
Right.
one person got on and got off. So I had to take a breath because we were blessed twice, and then here recently I had my own um situations going on because I'm always getting checked because that's the doctor's advice to continue to get checked once, sometimes twice a year.
Okay.
And so I've done that, and everything has panned out great, even though it didn't seem like that's the way it was going.
Okay.
Back in August, when I was first started this journey of making sure that I was cancer free and everything was fine, and everything appears to be fine. So I'm happy about that.
Good.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm still here. So that's it. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that.
About yourself or
No,
about this?
about the topic itself. Besides that, I am grateful that
Yeah.
you know, everybody, for me and for all those who are on here who
Yeah,
survived and
survivors.
yeah,
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
survivors.
This is a tough subject matter, but
Mhm.
it's so real and it's happening all the time. And I think it's just super cool that there's been provisions made that women and men who are challenged with the journey of breast cancer has a safe place to go. They have several safe places to go.
Mhm.
It's widespread. You can go anywhere. Call a hospital, call a community center. There's always someone to talk to if you don't go to a one-on-one therapist like Michelle and I, or
Mhm.
a community, support community. I'm sure now there's a gazillion of them virtually,
And yeah.
and
Yeah.
to just have a place to even just listen, even if you don't feel like talking. And I want to normalize the whole cycles, like for anyone on here that listening to it, that has the diagnosis, or in the future that listens to it, the cycling is just it is not, I don't want to say just because that minimizes it, is a part of the journey, the grief, the anger,
Mhm.
the bargaining, the
Mhm.
acceptance, and then most of all the resilience and the self-love work that goes into that. This is all a part of it, and it's not in that type of order either. It's not cyclical, it just comes and goes. And
Right.
so embrace that process, and that to me is why it's important to have other people to talk to beyond our family.
Yes.
um, Having other people who have a common experience is important, because
Yeah.
all of those emotions are real and you got to let them come.
Yeah. And if you don't, and you fall into a depression or anxiety takes over, then the things that you need to do for yourself, you're not going to want to do.
Mhm.
When
No.
you are in depression, you don't feel like doing anything.
Mhm.
So you won't do what's going to be good for you at the time. As a matter of fact, start doing things that are bad for you,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yes.
doing what you're like, eating poorly,
Mhm.
or not eating enough,
Mhm.
or not eating nutritional valued meals, or
Yeah.
I mean, depression is depression. The cause of it may be various causes, but
Right.
depression is depression. And if you fall into that, then you are more apt not to take care of yourself,
Right.
which is also something that could be positive to help in your recovery. Also, people feel some kind of way, just like any other depression, any other thing that causes depression, and uses alcohol or drugs, or to kind of dull the fear
The
and
fear. The fear gremlins
mhm,
that
yeah,
try to pop up.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
right. And that can lead to more aggressive or more severe problems.
Exacerbating. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
This
So
is good.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm really glad that we did this. I don't know what we're gonna come back with 2 weeks from now, but it'll be something. But I'm glad that we did this.
I am
Um,
too.
'Cause I think that my caption says, because breast cancer is not limited to the month of October. So
It is
yeah,
true. It is true. And I know, yeah. And it's the holidays too. And so if any of you, I'll just think about people who may have a diagnosis between
yes,
now and throughout the holidays. Just send them as much prayer
love,
and love
yes,
their way, because I cannot imagine the
yeah,
shift that has to happen during these times
during
for
these
people
times.
to get a diagnose like this. Right now we've seen movies with that
Mhm,
happening. I think of was it is it The Best Man?
mhm.
That was
One of
so,
those, yeah, yes,
yeah, that was like that was just
yeah,
and that's what made me think about that movie, came to my mind.
yeah.
And
And
so
so while we're wishing all on the timelines of Facebook and Instagram happy holidays, let's send out some praying holidays, prayerful
yeah.
holidays too, because somebody is sad. Somebody is
Mhm.
missing somebody.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
it was this year or 10 years ago,
Yeah.
somebody's missing somebody
Mhm.
around these holidays. It's not joyful for everybody.
Right.
And I that
regarding
yeah,
this
regarding this,
disease.
and it just
Mhm.
came to mind when when I was working in schools, that Christmas is not a
Yeah.
happy time for every child. So that's what made me think of that, like, because Christmas is
Mhm.
not a happy time for every child. Some children do not want to come back to school and talk about what happened for Christmas because nothing happened,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
it's just kind of the same, not everybody is enjoying, Thanksgiving. And I think that what I'll do is I'll just start posting some gratitude, because that's going to be helpful for people who, quite frankly, can't find any right now
Mhm.
because they're grieving.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's pour our hearts out and send out
Yeah.
our red hearts to those who
Yes.
might not feel like these holidays coming up are. And then we think about too, while I'm talking about that, we've had a lot of people go with COVID or
Yeah.
COVID related. And so we
Mhm.
want to be prayerful of those people, because the holiday is coming and their people are
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah. It can get really heavy. You can
It,
feel energy shift.
yeah.
If you are in this line of work, you
I was
start
going to say, we definitely feel it.
you start to feel a different experience about the holidays when you're
Yeah.
working with people with depression and anxiety and PTSD.
Yeah.
So just
And
want
so
to,
much so that we were in our meeting today, we had a team meeting today. We talked about checking, because we have like, we accrue time off and things like that, that we decided we were going to put in place and take it. And if
mm-hmm,
one of my colleagues said, and if you have one client, cancel them
mm-hmm,
ahead of time, right?
mm-hmm,
Take care of yourself, because
mm-hmm.
chances are they're going to cancel, because that's just the nature of the business. People
Right.
cancel around this time,
Yes.
whether they are grieving or not. They will
Yes.
cancel around this time.
Yes.
The
Yes.
grief might be too heavy, so they don't want to talk about it. Or
Yes.
they're just simply celebrating and they don't want to be on camera with you or in
Right.
the office with you, right?
Oh, yeah, not
um,
today. I don't want to do this today. But yes,
yeah.
it
So
is. So yeah, send out lots of love.
send out lots of love.
These next 3 months is pretty intense for people that are challenged with mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, PTSD, grief,
Hmm.
chronic illnesses, and illnesses that are possibly leading to death.
Yes.
This is a really intense time. And so if you can just send up a prayer or some love to anybody,
Yeah.
just every now and again, just like we push that little heart button on Facebook, send that little heart up or smiley face up to the
Yeah.
universe, to the world, so that people who are challenged these next 3 months can feel the love.
Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
All right, my friend, we
All right,
are
dear.
out of time. So we're
Yes.
gonna go. Thank you all for
Thank
chiming
you.
in and
Thank you for
allowing us
watching
to
today.
talk with you about this topic. We appreciate
Mhm.
it. Thank you, Stephanie. I am
Thank
Michelle
you.
Bird. You can find me on Psychology Today under my name, Facebook under my name, Instagram at Mrs. LPC, um, everywhere. Heads up mental clarity, Michelle D. Bird at Gmail and ChicagoCompassCounseling.com.
Yes. And I am Stephanie Stevens McCain, and you can find me at Lamplight Counseling Services in Independence, Ohio. Of course, Psychology Today. And the Instagram is S McCain MFT.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. I need to go change that name.
Yeah.
It needs to be as simple as the rest of them. So I need
All
to do
right,
that.
everyone.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
guys for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.